Hey, so what you're about to watch is a very good video. It's a very fun video with a good friend of mine talking about something very cool. But I had a little bit of an issue, which when I was setting up my camera, I must have hit autofocus at a very wrong point because my footage is blurry. You can make out my face and you can make out my lip movements and stuff like that. But this is going to be a pretty long video where I'm just kind of slightly out of focus the entire time. I consider asking my guest if we could re-record word for word verbatim what we did because it was a very good video. But I figured that would be a little excessive. So I apologize for the weird issue with this one. And the next one will be not that. So enjoy it. Sorry.
Perfect.
Yay! We strive for perfection.
In everything we do. We're only perfect here on this series.
We're only perfect. Nothing else will do.
No, we strive for 100% in everything. Those are supposed to be words, and I just lost every, so, perfect, I guess. What's up, everybody? My name is Sam, and this is the internet where things happen. Today, we're getting spooky. I don't know, is this spooky? I don't know. It's all relative, I suppose. I wanted to learn about the art of tarot, but I didn't want to do it by myself because I don't even know where to start. I'm my little baby brain, and I'm just doing my best in life. And so, what I decided to do is I decided to reach out to a good friend of mine who knows way more than I do, very certainly knows more than I do, and I wanted to introduce everybody to my friend Zach.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for that wonderful intro. You put almost too much praise on me. I'm a little worried now.
Yes, now the video will completely crash and burn, as was my plan.
I knew it. I knew that was it. You got everything all set up just to drag me down in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
This is payback for the longest road in Catan, isn't it?
This is payback for the longest road. This is payback for Minas Tirith. This is payback for just every single time you've ever made me look like a fool in a board game.
You gotta let Minas Tirith go.
I don't want to let Minas. I will never let Minas Tirith go again, and that's a promise.
Oh God! Oh, I actually got a tear from that one.
Zach is on top of being well versed in the various arts of what would you call this? What would you call like tarot and like this kind of?
Are we talking about just tarot itself, or just things I do in general?
Things. Well, here's what I'll say. Let's start with tarot itself, and then things you do in general, and then we'll see how those differ. The art of tarot, initially.
Well, with tarot, tarot is a form of cartomancy, which in itself is a subsection of divination. So cartomancy just means divination via cards. There's other subsets of divination, like reading tea leaves. Necromancy, actually, believe it or not, is originally a form of divination via the dead. It doesn't mean raising the dead. It means getting answers from the dead. And then everything else I do, just as a whole, would just fall under the blanket term of the occult.
The occult. Very much so. We've known each other for pretty close to a decade at this point, right? Because it's been a long time. Because we worked together. That's when we met, and those days. And
I'm still upset about Facebook recommending our old boss as a friend.
Oh my god, never could do it. But yeah, it just you have been consistently the person that like ties me to that world, and so I thought who better to talk to about this kind of stuff than you. So I figured, let's you sent me the link to this tarot deck, True Black, which I'll put the link in the description, which is it's a beautiful deck of tarot cards, and we'll show more of these, and Zach has his own decks over there, and we'll show more as the video goes on. But I just became obsessed with the aesthetics of them, and then I ordered them, and then I was just like, it's weird to have a deck of tarot cards and not know anything about tarot. And so,
well, I mean, that's how it started with me too. So you're in good company.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about tarot very quickly. So so I'm just going to talk in as many layman's terms as I can, because that's all I know how to do. So
that's perfectly fine.
This deck is divided into a couple of different things. So you've got these cards here, which I believe are called the Arcana.
The major Arcana, yeah. There's two subsets of cards in the tarot. You have the first 22 cards, which are the major Arcana. Everything after that is the minor Arcana, which is split up into 4 suits.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, because there's numbered suits. So you've got an ace, because they're suits like a deck of playing cards, but they're not organized like playing cards, right? What are these?
Yes, it's organized that way because tarot, as we know it, originally started as a playing card game.
Really?
Yes, it was originally called tarocchi, and it was popular in medieval Europe at a time when, oddly enough, playing cards of many sorts were banned because it was seen by the church as sinful and led to gambling. But tarocchi was actually given a pass because it was seen as a more aristocratic, intellectual game than the others.
Interesting. Okay, that's really cool. So each of the suits then has an ace through 10, and then they have a page, a knight, a queen, and a king.
Different decks will have different terms for the court cards, but it's all that same layout. Yes.
Okay. And so the two that I'm recalling off the top of my head are, there's a suit that is the cup, and the sword is one of them.
Yes, there's usually the 4 classic suits in a tarot deck are going to be your cups, the swords, the pentacles, and the wands.
What tarot has come to mean to a lot of people now, and obviously this is one of its primary functions, if not the primary function, that it's kind of like it tells you a little bit about like your life and like what you can maybe expect and look forward to in life coming up. So almost like a fortune. You use the major Arcana primarily for that purpose, right?
No.
See, this is why I asked you to come on this video. I have no idea.
Yeah, when using the tarot for divination, which nowadays is like 99.99999% of all people are using it for that. I don't think anybody plays the ancient game of tarocchi anymore. If rules even survive for that, I don't know. I have not looked into it. But
we could bring it back. We could bring it back.
I mean, hey,
that's all I'm saying.
It might be out there somewhere. That's a question I'll have to Google later on. But But yeah, when using the tarot for divination, you will use the entirety of the deck.
Okay. So So, what does, and you let me know if we're getting ahead of ourselves on this. What do the major arcana tell you versus what the minor arcana tell you? And how do you use them in conjunction with each other?
So the major arcana, which is also sometimes referred to as the Fool's Journey, these are cards that when they show up in a reading, they're usually going to be the cards that you want to really focus on first, because when a major arcana card shows up, that's a huge either external or internal influence in the situation that you're asking the cards about. The Fool's Journey that the major arcana cards cover is basically a shortened version of the life story of every person on their way to a heightened spiritual self, starting from the beginning all the way to when you've reached your highest possible point. Whether that be, depending on your religious system, whether that be achieving unity with God or reaching nirvana or what have you, the Fool's Journey is the entire trip to get to that point.
So you said there are 22 of the major ones.
Yes.
And I'm just going to quickly go through all of them because I like looking at these cards and I want you to look at them too. So it's called the Fool's Journey. The first card in most traditional decks is the Fool.
Yes.
So would you be able to kind of like say like a little bit like about each of them as we go, kind of like talking about what they maybe might represent in a general sense?
Yeah, let me get my deck here so I can, or let me at least grab a deck, because I've got a whole bunch sitting here.
Yeah, you said what? You said before we started, you said what, 15 of them you had?
Yes, I have 15 tarot decks currently. I have a bit of a collection, but I can say that about most things I own. I have a collection of collections, really, is what's going on here.
This is actually really, really funny because technically I have Baby's first tarot deck.
Oh, the Rider-Waite Smith?
No, not even that. I doubt you could use this in any realistic sense, or maybe you could. I don't know. Well, no, because there's no minor arcana in this. But I bought the games Persona. The Persona games, they focus on arcana. Each relationship that you have in the game is tied to a different major arcana. Okay. And some of the games came with this series of major arcana cards. So okay. I've had these for a very long time. So really, I'm an expert, right?
Who can doubt?
Who can say? Whomst among us?
Who is to say they know these things?
Not me. I don't. I just work here. I don't know. Because it goes in order. It goes Fool, Magician, High Priestess, Empress, Emperor, Hierophant, Lovers, Chariot, Strength, Hermit, Destiny, Justice, Hanged Man, Death, Temperance, Devil, Tower, Star, Moon, Sun, Judgment, and Zawarudo.
I'm sorry, run that by me again?
Zawarudo. Oh, I had to get a JoJo reference in there. Had to get a JoJo reference in there. You thought it was you thought it was tarot, but it was Dio.
I want to watch that just because I keep seeing so much weird shit from it, but I'm slightly terrified to do so.
You of all people, I think, would love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's so strange, but it's just like it starts off as this like mild-mannered like sibling rivalry thing, and then like episode 3 it goes off the fucking rails. Like it is something else. So we'll start with the Fool. So this is the card you said. It's the Fool's Journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so the journey is based on this card. Is that true?
Yes. Basically, the Fool is, and just for everyone here, this is the Rider-Waite-Smith version, which is kind of like the classic go-to tarot deck. The one that you've probably seen cards from in movies and TV and just pop culture in general. When someone's using a tarot deck, this is the deck you're going to see. But this is the original Fool in the Rider-Waite-Smith. And the Fool, basically, it's called the Fool's Journey because each card in the Major Arcana represents a step in his journey to a higher self. Sometimes the card will be representative of the Fool himself. Sometimes it'll be a situation that the Fool is going through or people that he interacts with. But the Fool himself is always meant to symbolize the querent, the person who's asking the cards the question.
And then we move on to the Magician. So this is cool guy magician over here. So what are we moving on to when we step to the Magician?
So the Magician is a card where you have a figure here who has the symbols of all four suits present. The Magician is a card that shows that you are in touch with all your elements. This is a card of having a connection to a higher power and being able to draw that power down into yourself to further your purpose. So this is always usually a pretty good card to get. Upright, definitely. If you get cards in reverse, it's not always a bad thing. It could be just like certain energies are blocked, or it could be an unexpected bump in the road. But depending on the card, different cards have different meanings, whether they're upright or inverse.
Then we move on to the High Priestess. What does the High Priestess represent?
The High Priestess is one of my favorite cards because the High Priestess is very mysterious in that the High Priestess represents your subconscious. She kind of represents the things you don't know and the things you don't know that you don't know. She's like
an inception of knowledge, basically.
Yes. When the High Priestess appears, there's a secret that's going to be revealed. There's something that's going to be revealed to you that you didn't know that you needed. Something along those lines. So the High Priestess is very much a card that signifies that interesting things are coming, but you don't quite know what they are. She's very mysterious.
Yeah,
I love her.
So like as an example, like maybe like you're about to get a job offer that you had no idea that came out of left field. Like maybe a different industry will come and ask you if you want to do a job for them, as an example.
Potentially, but usually the High Priestess usually deals with things more of a mental or a spiritual nature.
Okay. After the High Priestess, we have the Empress, and she's chilling in her chair here in mine. I love how shiny these are. I get very distracted by them. What pray tell do we get into with the Empress?
So the Empress is kind of the ultimate mother figure. She is the matriarch. She is Mother Nature. She is every strong female lead you can imagine. She's that loving, nurturing mother figure in all of our lives. Now that can, in a reading, be taken to be literal as representative of a person, or it could be the general feel of a situation. You're going into, say, you're asking about, future job opportunities, and say the Empress comes up. The Empress could be signifying that this is a job where you're not just a number. This is a job where they look after you like you're their family. They want to take care of you and help you grow. Just one example. That's Empress nice. Is always a very nice sight to see because it's full of love and warmth and good feels all around.
We We stand good feeling energy. I use that term far too much, and I've heard the song. It's not good, but it's just it's all the Zoomers are saying it, and so I have to
you gotta stay on top of it. Gotta acknowledge you can't slip for a second.
Not with them; they are savage, and we as millennials deserve it. That's fine. Just handle it. The next card we have is the Emperor. So, kind of it seems directly parallel to the Empress. Is it?
Yeah, the Emperor, along similar lines, he's a very strong, authoritative male figure. He's a fraternal figure. He could be an authority figure. So on this card, you'll notice that the Emperor sits on a large, how would it call this, ivory or marble throne. And the landscape behind him is using very warm colors. It's a very reddish orange. He overtops a kingdom that one could almost see fire in the background. The Emperor is a figure who he is loving like the Empress, but he's very stern. He's a figure who, as long as you're on his good side, he'll treat you with love and respect, but he is a figure that you do not want to cross. He's
like every military dad ever.
Yes, you could say that. He is powerful, he is strong, he's loving towards those who he knows are deserving of it. He's the Emperor. I have mixed feelings on getting the Emperor, but that just might be my own personal thoughts and history.
That's fair.
Because cards can mean different things to different people depending on the context, depending on the deck, depending on the reader, and so on. So for others, while the Emperor might be a glad sight to see, for me, I get mixed feelings with him.
Okay, that's fair.
So the Hierophant, in most decks, has this traditional papal attire with the triregnum, the 3 crowns, priestly robes, etc. The Hierophant represents authority, not to the extent of the Emperor necessarily, but he represents authority in the guise of tradition and orthodoxy. So in most decks, he's represented as a pope or some church official, because in Western civilization, when it comes to talking about tradition and orthodoxy, most people are going to think of the Catholic Church. The Hierophant represents that, as well as like a connection to the divine. So whereas the magician has a connection to the divine with himself, the Hierophant is kind of that connection to the divine for the masses, for people who don't have that personal connection. Now, the Hierophant, like I was talking with another friend the other day, he was always telling me that he got those mixed emotions like I get with the Emperor with the Hierophant. And he was talking about how he liked to avoid the Hierophant because it made him think of a lot of the bad things the Catholic Church has done. And I said that's one way to look at it. And if the Hierophant shows up reversed in a reading, that is definitely the energy that it would give off. It would be that that use of tradition and orthodoxy to oppress or to belittle people. Yeah. Upright, it doesn't necessarily represent that. It doesn't have to be that negative stereotype that people have of an organized religion. So it all depends on your personal viewpoint. And it all depends on what the deck is trying to tell you in the rest of the spread.
Our next card is, and I'm going to be honest with you, I can maybe guess this one, but I'm going to let you still explain it. We have the Lovers.
Yes.
I could potentially guess what this one represents, but I'm gonna throw it to you.
The Lovers is pretty much one of the most straightforward cards that you can get in the tarot deck. it means what it says right on the front. So like in the Rider-Waite-Smith, it's Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden with one of, I forget if it's supposed to be a specific angel, but just the angels overhead kind of blessing their union. So it's a love that is meant to be.
It's a zero fail. Which is also a show you should watch and read, and The Good Omens is so good. Just look into that as well.
I'll keep a running tab of things I need to look into.
Yes, yeah. We'll just make a checklist. I'm surprised you haven't seen Good Omens. You would like it. It's got David Tennant in it. You would love it. The next we have is Chariot. So is that about zoom and the zoom and road in your chariot? Looking cool and
it could be. It doesn't necessarily conjure Initial D music to start playing in my head, but the Chariot is very much a card about victory. This is almost always a good card to have in a spread. Because the Chariot almost always signifies that whatever it is you're setting out to do, whatever it is that you're hoping will come to pass, the Chariot's usually a sign that everything is going to go the way you're hoping it's going to.
And we also love a good Initial D reference around here. So
yeah.
We do.
Gas.
Go look up Initial D. Not you. You're fine, Zach. You know that one. Strength. Slow, getting strong. What do we got? What do we got with strength, sir?
So with strength, strength is not a card that is so much about like physical strength, but it's more so actually. I often think that the card should be referred to as kind of restraint, because like in the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck for strength, we have a woman here who there's a lion next to her, who in under normal circumstances, this woman's life would be in danger if she were right next to a lion. But on the card, it can be seen that while she could try to fight the lion and save her life, she doesn't. She restrains herself and she pulls from her inner strength to instead tame the lion and become friends with it. So strength is very much a card about looking within yourself and seeing if there's a situation that you think is in opposition to you, or this is a situation where you feel like you don't have control, just stop for a moment and look inside yourself and start thinking outside the box. There may be more than one way to tackle this scenario, and that could prove quite beneficial instead of just trying to butt heads with whatever you see as being in your path.
The Hermit. You were struggling to find the Hermit when you were getting your cards together. Is that a sign?
No, that isn't necessarily a sign, but the Hermit is easily my card. This is my signifier card in almost every reading I do. The Hermit is a card that represents taking time for oneself, away from the masses, not necessarily like quarantining yourself off, but the Hermit is about taking time to meditate and reflect and to find what it is that your spirit's really yearning for. The Hermit is a lot about one's inward journey and taking the time to figure that out before setting off again. And then the lantern that he holds signifies the knowledge that once he's taken the time to figure out what it is he's seeking and where to go, that lantern is the beacon he shines to everyone, saying, I know what it is that I need. Follow me, and I can show you where you can find what you need.
Okay. It almost sounds like the self-care card in a way.
It could be seen as that, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. That's nice. And that also is very you.
Yes, this started just on a whim. The very first tarot deck I ever got, I didn't know what I wanted to ask it for the first thing. So literally what I did was just off the cuff as I was shuffling the cards, I asked, "Who am I?" And I drew the Hermit. And then when I got my next tarot deck, I did the same thing and drew the Hermit. And I proceeded to do this for every tarot deck I have ever gotten. And every single time I have drawn the Hermit.
Huh. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think there's something to that. I just throwing it. I don't know if you knew, but I just my first thought is that there's might be something to it. I don't know.
I had some suspicion, but I didn't think nothing of it.
Again, spooky. Word of the day, spooky. Put it on the screen. It's freaking bats over there. Destiny. And so, I mean, we know what the word destiny means, obviously, but what does it mean within the context of this card?
Yeah, so this is a card where in your deck, this actually differs from what the original card is, which is the Wheel of Fortune at number 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
interesting.
In either case, though, destiny, fortune, whatever you want to call it, this is just kind of a general good luck card. This is a card when the Wheel of Fortune shows up. This is showing that the wheel is turning in your favor and good things are coming your way. Maybe not as direct and applicable as the Chariot might be. The Wheel of Fortune's a little more vague about what it could be, so you kind of have to look to the rest of the cards in the spread to see what's going on. That when the card is inversed, it can be seen as the opposite of that. Once the wheel begins to turn away from that, bad luck may start to ensue. Things of that nature.
Yeesh. Our next card here is Justice. Good old Justice. What do we got? What do we got with Justice?
Well, Justice, much like the Lovers, is another very straightforward card in what it means. On the original, you have, the traditional symbols of justice. You have the scales. You have the sword. But in the original, I don't remember if the True Black has it this way. In the original, Justice is not blind, though. Justice is able to see everything, even those things that people think are hidden. So when Justice shows up, it can mean both justice in traditional senses that we think of. It could also be, justice on a grander cosmic scale. There may be factors that we haven't considered that this Justice, who is not blindfolded, sees that we do not. So justice could be coming around, even if it's taking a form that we don't think is fair. It may turn out to be fair in the end once more facts come to light.
This one is a little disturbing. Our next one, we've got the Hanged Man. That's fun. What's he do?
The Hanged Man is one of those cards that when people see it, they get concerned because they think inevitably, this must be something bad is about to happen. But it's actually the complete opposite. The Hanged Man is the card telling you to stop everything, take a moment and reflect. It's like the Hermit, but in a different way. The Hanged Man is kind of a way of signifying that, don't take as long as needed with the Hermit. With the Hanged Man, all that's needed is a very brief respite. Stop, take a few deep breaths, look around you, and listen for that little voice in your head. Listen for inspiration from the divine, or whatever you choose to put your faith in, and it'll come to you. So the Hanged Man is all just about... obviously not being hung, but just taking a pause, look at things from a different angle.
We love thinking about things from a different angle, Just critical thinking is key. It's in the name, critical thinking. Anyway,
Sadly, a skill that is lacking in our world.
That's none of my business, though. Sips my tea. So this next one is the one that you traditionally see in media. People like gasping and clutching their pearls when they see. Of course, it is death. Is it as bad as they make it out to be when you draw the death card?
Absolutely not. That's usually the biggest misconception that anyone who reads tarot has to get out of the way, is that the death card does not signify that you're going to die or your loved ones are going to die. Some horrible, ill-fated tragedy is going to cross you and your loved one's path. No. If anything, death is more often than not a good card to have. Because when the death card shows up, it's not symbolizing death as in the act of dying itself. Death in this card is the rebirth that comes from that. This is the cycle of death giving rise to new life. This is the end of one project, the beginning of another, a new stage in one's journey. So death is often one of the better cards you can get. Whatever the situation at hand is, if it was bad, it's going to get better. If it was already a good situation, then the culmination of that is coming very soon, and then something new is going to be coming your way.
Okay. Now could it, like, if it's inverse, like, could it possibly mean that, like, really bad stuff that, like, people think it's about? Or like,
very rarely. And even then, like, if something happens after a reading where, like, death was inverted, and just say by sheer coincidence someone in their life did pass, it's so rare that happens when the death card is in a reading that I just write that off as pure coincidence. Because death inverted isn't going to signify that, you know, someone you know is going to die. If the death card is inverted, that more so means that the next chapter in whatever it is you're going through has been delayed by some external force.
That is good to know. We're dispelling myths here on YouTube today. I just, we ask the questions and we get the answers. Hard-hitting journalism. Our next card is Temperance. This is Merida from Brave, as you can see.
If you had the chance to change your fate, would you?
That's a deep reference. Anyway, what do we got? What do we have with Temperance? Please save me.
The Temperance on the original has some pretty curly locks as well, so not quite a redhead, but red wings a bit. But I don't think that counts, though.
If you could change your fate,
would you?
Would you?
But Temperance is one of those cards that I actually don't get a lot in my readings. I don't know what that says about me, but even in readings I do for other people. But so I don't get myself acquainted with Temperance very often. But Temperance is very much about, well, exactly as the name would imply, tempering yourself, evening things out, balancing out. Don't overindulge in whatever you're pursuing. Try to take some time. Like several of these cards that I've mentioned before have this theme of taking a moment of respite and thinking about things. Whereas Temperance is not so much thinking long and hard about something, but it's taking stock of things and seeing, what am I doing or using in excess? What do I need to balance out? What am I doing that might be fueling unwanted obstacles in this chapter of my life? And taking a moment, kind of like putting yourself on a spiritual diet almost. Just trying to get yourself back in natural harmony.
A lot of these have a lot of very pleasant overtones, and I appreciate that. And I could be wrong, But Devil is our next one. Doesn't feel pleasant, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, so the Devil. This is another one of those cards alongside Death that we have to calm people down about. This card
dispel a couple rumors, just really learn some people up a little bit.
Yeah, so if the Devil shows up in your reading, you're not going to get possessed. Demons aren't going to come swarming into your house. There's no risk of Satan coming after you. The Devil, the card just represents the idea of temptation, of overindulging in the material more than the spiritual, losing sight of your original goal and getting sidetracked by shiny things that are not going to help you out in any way and are just taking you off into the beaten path until you get so lost you can't remember what you were originally trying to do. So it's all about, temptation and greed, worldly matters over the spiritual matters that you're trying to attain.
Maybe something to look into, but not sinister and as destructive as you would think from that card. Man, entertainment and media is really clouding some people's judgment sometimes.
You have no idea, not just with tarot.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Well, that's an entirely different video, man.
Yes.
The Tower. The Tower. What do we have with the Tower?
Now, the Tower, this is one card I don't like to see.
Really?
This is the card that most people, most practiced tarot readers are going to be concerned about.
Really?
Yes. Whereas pop culture leads you to fear the Devil and the Death card, this is the one that is no bueno.
Huh.
Now I've seen.
So I see on that one, there's is that lightning in the background, or what's going on in the background of that
Yes,
card?
so on this one, there's a lightning bolt that's striking the top of the tower there and sending the two figures there hurtling to their demise. Now, there are two different thoughts on how to read the tower. The first thought that most people are familiar with is the tower represents sudden calamity. The tower represents completely unexpected external forces not only putting a halt to your plans, but knocking you on your ass. This is the card where I would genuinely be worried about someone's health. This is the card where I would.
No. I was gonna ask.
Yeah. This is the card where you need to start taking things really carefully and start carefully measuring out your moves. The other line of thinking with the tower is almost as disruptive, but in a different way. The second theory that people have on the tower is that this is a card of a sudden shift in your worldview. This is a card about the rug being pulled out from under you and the whole world being not what you thought it was, and completely reorienting your worldview, your priorities, everything you ever thought about everything. Suddenly, through some revelation or through some happenstance, your entire world just gets spun on its head. So it may not be, physically devastating, but mentally you might have to recover a bit, so to speak, as your entire world just changed.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Zach. I'm not a big fan of either one of those. I gotta tell you,
it's unsettling in different ways. It is.
Yeah. They're two. Yeah, it's they're not. Neither of them are great feelings, I will admit.
Oh no!
Our next card, we're getting a little celestial. Here is the Star.
I can't remember how it's portrayed on the True Black deck, but in the Rider-Waite,
it's a. And the True Black deck, it looks like she's wearing a black dress and having some fun. It seems like she's at a club, and honestly, that's what it looks like she's doing. I mean, am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong.
No, you're not. You're not.
Anyway.
She's having a good time.
Yeah.
The star is very much representative of the tranquility and the quiet state of the universe. Which, I mean, my own personal thoughts about the state of the universe is a bit chaotic, but thematically,
I mean, so's mine at this point.
Thematically, I get where they're coming from. The star is a place of rest and relaxation in your life. It's an oasis amidst troubled times and places. The star is a sign that no matter what's been going on, whatever the situation is, where you are right now, you are going to be at peace for quite a while. You're in a good spot.
Continuing our theme with some celestial bodies, we have the moon. What do we get with the moon? This is a little... The picture on the moon for my card is a little sinister. See that?
Yeah. The moon, next to the tower, the moon is another card that is usually not all that welcome.
Cool.
Yeah, whereas the tower was a sign of calamity from external forces, this is your internal calamity. This is things hidden in your subconscious, whether it's in your past or what have you, coming and just totally upending everything. This is a mental break. This is something that disturbs you on a deeply terrible level. This is something that leaves you distraught and just completely unwilling to go on. But the ultimate message of the moon is that while this internal calamity is extremely unpleasant and it seems like going further is not possible, you have to push on, because if you don't, all those things that have been buried in your subconscious are going to eat you alive.
Cool. Our next one is the sun, which the sun looks like she's having a different... she's having fun at a different club compared to Star and mine. But yeah, the sun. What's the sun? Because I would have thought the moon would have been like something tranquil.
Yeah,
but
no, not
guess,
at all.
Yeah. So my assumption with sun is that it's like something like warmth. And
yes, the sun is like the ultimate feel good card in the deck. This is everything's coming up roses. Everything is fan-fucking-tastic. Everything's going your way. Nothing can go wrong. Ain't nobody gonna put me down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So sun equals good.
Sun equals very good. PV good.
Okay. PPVV good. Our next card is Judgment. Ooh. I mean, again, it seems very straightforward. You tell me.
Yeah, Judgment is a straightforward card. Now, Judgment is not to get its meaning mixed up with Justice. Whereas Justice may more refer to like the legal system that we think of. Judgment is more on like a larger cosmic scale. This is like the realm of the spiritual coming and judging you based on your actions, not whether it's something you've done that transgressed man's laws. This is about something you might have done that not only impacted the elevation of yourself, but the elevation of others. This is a time of reckoning, whether for good or ill, of yourself.
And then we have one final card, which is, in the major arcana, we have Zawardo. Or, if you prefer, the World. And what do we get with the World? This is the last card in the major arcana,
yes.
So this is like the final stop on the Fool's journey. So what do we get with
the World being the end of the Fool's journey. The World is a sign of the Querent having reached their spiritual peak. having reached the highest possible state that your soul can be at. You have, whether it's reached enlightenment or you've reached apotheosis or what have you, the world is a sign that this chapter is closed and this chapter is a triumph for you. It is a pinnacle of your achievement. There may even be more to come, but for now, this is a sign of ecstasy, of self-empowerment. That this is, if the sun is an ultimate good feel card, the world is that multiplied by 10.
We like our self-enlightenment here. It's very critical. I fully, if I were to get a reading, I fully do not expect to pull the world at this point in my life. Maybe we will one day. Maybe we'll get there.
You never know.
Those were all the major arcana. Now, do the minor arcana have, are they, because it's, again, you have the 4 suits, and then you have all of the numbers and then the court cards. Do they have as big of a varied, difference in what they represent as opposed to major? Because the major arcana all seem to represent wildly different things. So what do the minor arcana represent in a reading?
So the minor arcana, traditional attributions are going to be the suit of cups, for example, is usually going to deal with emotions, intuition, the spiritual side of things. The suit of swords is all about action. This is all going to be physical transgressions. The pentacles is kind of like the symbol of wealth and earthly matters. So this is a suit that's usually going to deal with things like your job. And then the suit of wands is kind of the suit of inspiration, creativity, passions. So the wands is kind of like everything that drives you and ideas that you want to bring into reality. And each of the cards in those suits have their own varied meanings. So readings can vary greatly depending on the question that's being asked, the person who's doing the reading, whatever practices that the reader uses. They may have a certain ritual they do before reading cards. Some people don't. But at its most basic level, all that's required for a reading is someone who has a question that they need answered, some problem they're having that they haven't been able to figure out an answer to, and they need advice from someone or something else because they've already racked their brain and aren't sure what to do. And then they will look at what the cards give them. They will interpret the signs and the meanings of the cards, sometimes, strictly adhering to what people have always traditionally assigned to those cards they're given meaning. And some people will read the cards completely freeform. They'll just look at the symbols and interpret it on the spot in their own specific way. Everybody reads different. I kind of do mixes of them because I know the established meanings of most all of these cards, but I'll also, while I'm doing the reading, get little tugs in the back of my mind implanting an idea when I'm looking at this combination of cards and how it relates to this scenario. And it could be something that doesn't necessarily normally get attributed to these cards, but I'll bring it up anyway because this feels like something in my unconscious is going, hey, this needs attention, this needs brought up. And it usually does give greater insight into the question that's being asked.
Do you find that there are more common questions that people ask when doing a reading, or is it just kind of all over the place? Because you said that you ask every deck that you get, who am I? And then that's your hermit, and then that's kind of what you get. So is there is there common typical questions that get asked, or
the most common kinds of questions that you're ever going to get from people when doing a tarot reading is about love. It's about relationships.
Okay.
It's always about that. Vast majority of the time, it's either going to be that or it's going to be about someone's job.
Okay.
It's very rare that I actually get questions that don't relate to those.
Okay. How like complex can the question be? Like how like when you dig down into it, could you like, I guess, trying to figure out how to ask this question. Like is it best to ask like more simple questions, or can you like get really detailed with what you're asking?
For most of the time, it's usually better. Like if you have a complex problem, try and break it down into its most simplistic form. But there are people who will take as complex a situation as they can get, and with that, they'll create a card spread that's equally as complex to address that.
Sure.
Because when you do a reading, it could be anything from a 1-card draw to a 3-card spread to literally using the entire tarot deck in a spread.
That's a thing?
Because that is a thing. Whew. It doesn't happen often, but it is a thing.
All right. Well, so what would you say is the most, so one, basically the more complex the question, the more complex it is to decipher the reading. First of all.
Usually.
And then, so my question is then, what would you say is the most common spread to draw from? Like a 3-card? Like how many would you typically do?
3-card draws are very common. Lots of people do the Celtic cross. I don't, for personal reasons.
Okay.
But usually 3-card draws are very common. Variations of 3-card draws with cards that get added on as details are revealed, I do a lot of.
Okay. I was going to ask you about love, but the way that you described it made it kind of sounded like asking a tattoo artist to do an infinity symbol. Hey,
it's your question. If you want to ask it, I'm not going to stop you.
You know what? We've known each other for a long time, so you're legally not allowed to get annoyed at me. I want to know. I'm going to be a basic bitch. I want to know what love's going to look like for me. I'm in the game. I'm back in the game. Dating, I'm available. So is that okay to like say is like I want to know about like what my love life is going to be like, or do you need it structured in like a more of a question? Can it be like open like that, or what do you prefer?
It can be open like that. It can be. I'm usually not terribly picky. When people have questions. Because that question by itself seems pretty straightforward. You're just wanting to know how things are going to look for you in the wide world of dating.
Yeah, man.
In the near future.
That's on the Tinders and on the Hinges of the world. Yeah, I'm just curious. Or maybe I meet somebody. Maybe I meet somebody through a friend. So yeah, so let's go with that. Let's say, what does my dating future look like? And go from there.
Now the real question becomes which tarot deck to use.
So that was the other, because you mentioned something, because that was the other thing that you mentioned while we were talking, is that different readers will often pull different interpretations and different things. Different decks also have different energy, right? Is that like the case?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely. Because when reading tarot, there's two main schools of thought about how tarot works.
Okay.
There's the original thought of, it's entirely a mystical experience. This is spirits and energetic forces working through the cards to bring a message to you. And then there's a more psychological approach. And I do kind of like a mixture of both.
Okay.
The psychological approach basically kind of like takes the ideas of Jungian psychiatry and views the cards as presenting you archetypal images that everybody has in what Jung called the collective unconscious. Symbols that transcend culture and time. And these are symbols that always kind of bring the same feelings and thoughts to anyone, no matter where you are, when you are. So I kind of take an approach that mixes both of those theories. That it's little column A, little column B.
Sure.
However it works, it works.
Sure. That sounds like a healthy way to do it too. So I'm okay with it.
To honor Mr. Crowley's request that the invocation always be made when consulting the cards, I invoke thee, Yao, that thou wilt send Hru, the great angel that is set over the operations of this secret wisdom, to lay his hand invisibly on these consecrated cards of art, that thereby we may obtain true knowledge of hidden things to the glory of thine ineffable name. Amen.
I got the shivers. And I mean that too. That's not just me being funny. Like I just like a.
So to these cards I ask, show us what was, what is, and will be in Sam's journey for love. Oh, that's interesting.
I love this because I can't see them, and whenever somebody says, "Oh, that's interesting," you don't necessarily love to hear it, but it could be good. I don't know. So we'll see.
The very first card in the spread for the past is love.
Huh. Okay.
So I think the cards may be slightly taunting me, going, "Yeah, you want to know about love? Yeah, he sure was looking for it, wasn't he?" However, it should be noted that in addition to this Major Arcana card, the other two are Major Arcana as well.
Really?
Every card in this reading is a Major Arcana card.
So what does that mean typically? Could it mean nothing? Could it mean everything? Like what?
It depends on the cards, but usually, like, if every card in your spread is a Major Arcana card, there is a definitive message it is trying to tell you.
Okay. That's good to know. I like definitiveness.
and usually, like, with lots of Major Arcana cards in a reading, whatever they're telling you is going to happen soon.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's usually, if not, in a couple days, then maybe a couple weeks.
Okay. Huh.
All depending on the situation. I don't ever like to put a definitive time frame on something going, well, you've got exactly 17 days and then this is going to happen.
But soon is pretty safe to assume. But
soon, TM.
TM, that's ours. Nobody else can use the word soon.
The card of our present situation is the Magician, or here, the Magus.
Okay.
So with this, I'm getting the sense with these other two cards, I'll reveal what the third one is in a second, but with these other cards, I'm getting the sense that it is saying that everything is at your fingertips. The Magician is someone who has channeled divine energy into themselves. They have mastery over the four suits. And it already acknowledges that love is the goal. So these two cards, first off, are saying that everything you need to find the love you're looking for is at your fingertips right now.
Okay.
And the best part of it is, the third card, the Wheel of Fortune.
Ooh. I like that. I like that a lot.
You have all the power in the world right now. There could already be somebody in your life who you may not think has a romantic interest that may suddenly, it may click in your head that, I didn't think about it before, but now, damn.
Okay.
So if I'm getting any message from these three cards the way they are, the message is that love is going to practically fall into your lap with the way things are going. And you have the power to make it happen once you find the person that you're certain of.
Man, you love to see it. That's all entirely fine by me. That's very cool. All right. So I want to ask one final question, Zach, because somebody brought this up to me when I was talking to them about this deck here.
Yes.
So if I were to bust this baby out and start using it for readings, is there something that I need to do with them first to like make sure like some type of like invocation or like a cleansing or anything that I need to do with the cards before I should officially use them for readings? Or is
that is entirely up to the individual reader.
Okay.
I usually do blessings on mine, but just speaking from practicality experience, I've used decks before that I didn't take the time to bless, or like another traditional method is to leave them on your windowsill under a full moon for a full night. But I've used decks before without blessing them or any kind of invocation, and it's still worked just as intended. Okay. But I find that if you do any kind of blessing on them, it does tend to make the deck feel more like it's connected to you, and readings start to make more sense than they would at first glance. So it's not required at all by any means, but if you have the ability to do so, I would recommend it.
Okay. Yeah, Zach, thank you very much for taking the time out to to talk about this and educate not only me, but the people at home about tarot. And thank you for my very good reading. I appreciate that.
Oh, well, you are very welcome. It's my pleasure to have been asked by you to do this.
Yeah, and maybe if we think about another thing that's within your wheelhouse to talk about, we can do another one of these and go from there. So
I would absolutely look forward to it.
Yeah. And on that note, I never know. My whole thing is that I don't know how to close videos, so I just kind of do this.